So when looking at the cyclical behavior of key macroeconomic variables, a very important variable that we want to look at is related to output. And in here, this variable is called industrial production. And it is a procyclical and coincident variable, which means that it moves together with the business cycle. So then, is there any other procyclical and coincident variable? The answer is yes. Consumption is also a procyclical and coincident variable. The business fixed investment is also a procyclical coincident variable. And then the employment is also a procyclical and coincident variable. So is there any procyclical and leading variable? Then it will be a very good signal for us to identify or predict the fluctuation of the aggregated economic activities. It then can be possible that we can make money out of it as long as we can buy low and sell high. But it turned out that it is not easy. That is because when we want to buy the value of the aggregated production of a nation, the easiest way is that we buy stocks. But then it turned out that the stock price is a procyclical and leading variable. Well, so it's something that is unfortunate, because if we want to make money out of the stock market by knowing the business cycles, we cannot do that, because the stock price will fall before the expansion ends, and the stock price will rise before the contraction ends. That's something unfortunate, but there is a variable that may signal the possibility of predicting business cycle other than the stock price. So then it may signal some information about the turning point for the business cycle. Given that it is different from stock prices, so it's possible that we can make money out of it, but not too much. But then anyhow, in here we say that the inventory investment is also a procyclical and leading variable. That is because the business knows when they have new orders and they need to have the inventory ready for sale. Therefore, the inventory investment variable is procyclical and leading. There is a survey about the business manager's perspective about what should be the economic activity look like in the future, and those may serve as a good indicator for predicting the business cycle. So these two, the inventory investment and stock prices, are procyclical and leading variables. Finally, for the procyclical and lagging variables, we say that inflation and the nominal interest rate are both procyclical and lagging variables. The reason why inflation is a variable that is lagging is because when the economy experiences a boom, then there will be more demand for goods. When there are more demand for goods, then the price will rise. So this is in general a procyclical and lagging variable. Another procyclical and lagging variable is the nominal interest rate. That is the interest rate listed by the banking. When the economy is in boom, the interest rate may rise later, because as the time evolves, the firm would like to invest more in the boom. When the firm wants to invest more, there are more borrowing activity going on, and then the interest rate will rise to respond to such a move. Therefore, the rise of the nominal interest rate is procyclical and lagging. So then, what are the countercyclical variables? It turned out that unemployment is the countercyclical variable. That is because when the economy is in boom, people will need more goods. When people need more goods, then the firms need to produce more goods by hiring more workers. So then the employment will be higher in a boom. So the opposite of employment, which is the unemployment, should fall. So it is a countercyclical variable. Another way to think about it is that when the economy is in recession, people no longer need that many goods, so that we no longer need that many labor hours to contribute the production. Therefore, it is a countercyclical variable. Finally, is there any acyclical variables which can come in either direction? It turned out that the real interest rate is a cyclical variable. Two ways to think about why it is an acyclical variable. So one way to think about that is the real interest rate equals the nominal interest rate minus the inflation rate. Given that inflation rate and the nominal interest rate are both procyclical variables, if the rise of the inflation rate is more than the rise of the nominal interest rate, then the real interest rate should fall. On the other hand, if the rise of the inflation rate is less than the rise of the nominal interest rate, then the real interest rate should increase. Therefore, the direction of the change for real interest rate is not that clear. The other way to think about that is the real interest rate is the equilibrium of the saving and investment. We look at the saving and investment diagram. In here, we know that when the economy is in boom, then the income of households should increase. So given that the income increases, so then it's more likely that the saving curve will shift to the right. But then if the shock is lasting for a short time, then it's possible that the investment curve will not change at all, because the changes of the investment curve means that given the same real interest rate, how much investment the firm wants to make. Given that the investment is for future uses, so if the boom lasts for a short time, then it makes no need for increasing the investment, because the future marginal product of the capital will come back to the original level again pretty soon. Therefore, in that case, the changes in the investment is responding to the changes in the real interest rate. So then the interest rate should fall when the saving increase quite a lot. However, it's possible that when the boom lasts for a long time, the firm would like to invest. When the firm would like to invest, then it will shift the investment curve. Then it's possible that the real interest rate will rise under this case. Therefore, from these two perspectives, we claim that the real interest rate is an acyclical variable. So given that the coincident and leading variable are very valuable, which tell us in what direction the business cycle should go, therefore economists are very interested to get to know when is the turning point of the business cycle. Therefore, we developed indicators. So one is developed by Chicago Fed, and it is called Chicago Fed National Activity Index. And the other is developed by ADS Business, and it is called the ADS Business Condition Index. Then as you can see in here, that the period of the contraction is highlighted in green, and then we will find that the trough of these two indexes are slightly before the end of the recession. So then we claim that these indices are doing quite well in predicting the turning point for the recession. However, it is not doing too good in predicting the turning point for boom relative to its prediction power for the turning point of the recession. In Taiwan, the National Development Council also provides the business cycle database. It tells us what happened to the leading indicator, coincident indicator, and the lagging indicator. And as you can see in here, the lagging indicator is still rising now, and then the coincident indicator has been facing a fluctuation up and down and up again, and same thing for the leading indicator. In addition to that, they also provided the manufacturing PMI and also the non-manufacturing NMI. So these two indices are the prediction of the business manager about the futures. Is their business in expansion or in contraction? one from the manufacturing sector, the other from the non-manufacturing sector. It turned out that the managers in the manufacturing sector has 59% of the people thinking that the economy is in expansion. But then for the managers in the non-manufacturing sector, that more than 62% of the managers are thinking about the economy is going to get better. Therefore, it turned out that the manager in the manufacturing sector is less optimistic about the future for the time being in Taiwan. So these are the topics that related to business cycle that we want to talk about.